At the open-air party, the moment I found Paula Dalton, all I felt was burning anger. Across the plaza, she was getting cozy with a muscular guy. I clenched my teeth and walked towards them. The lively atmosphere around the table instantly quieted down. "Paula," a friend reminded her. Paula turned her head to see me, hastily standing up from her chair, a trace of panic flashing in her eyes. "Kelvin, what are you doing here?" My response was a swift slap across her face. She held her cheek, looking at me in disbelief. "Kelvin Johnston, don't go too far." One slap easily tore apart her facade. "Paula Dalton, you disgust me." Her face turned grim as she picked up the wine bottle from the table and smashed it onto the ground. "Kelvin Johnston, you were the one who pursued me first, then acted indifferent and cold. Now you're blaming me." I clenched my fists tightly as guests around us cast strange looks. I straightened my back, forcing myself not to back down. "Paula, do you know why I don't want to be intimate with you? Because you make me feel nauseated. Anyone but you." As soon as I finished speaking, my gaze swept across the room until a captivating figure caught my attention. It was a woman whose beauty was extraordinarily striking, her every gesture exuding elegance. Impulsiveness, like a demon, took over my mind. The next moment, I was in front of her, kneeling on one knee. The guests, including her, all showed expressions of astonishment. "My apologies," I murmured, then kissed the back of her hand. I looked at her. Those beautiful eyes shifted from surprise to amusement. At this moment, I felt my heart pounding fiercely. In those few seconds, it seemed like an eternity. I stood up. "May I ask boldly, are you single?" The woman looked at me with interest. "Yes." "Then would you be willing to be my girlfriend?" She remained silent. Behind me, a crowd of onlookers held their breath. I had no way out. The shrill voice of Paula broke the silence as she rushed towards me like a whirlwind, yanking me away from that woman. "Kelvin Johnston, have you gone mad?" I stared at her contorted face, feeling a hint of satisfaction welling up inside me. Ignoring her, I stubbornly gazed at the woman, waiting for her response. The clock ticked away, and hope receded like the tide. The woman rose gracefully, her slender figure pausing before my eyes. She walked past me, heading straight for the exit. I hung my head, pondering how to make a dignified exit. Suddenly, that figure stopped and glanced back. "Well, aren't you coming, little boyfriend?" As if the clouds had parted to reveal the sun, I perked up instantly. I followed closely behind her. The crowd behind us erupted in cheers and whistles. The street lamps cast a dim yellow glow, and the night air was crisp. She took a sip of her fine wine. "Time to go," she said nonchalantly. She was a bewitching siren. Strangely, when I kissed her, I felt no discomfort at all. "May I ask your name?" "Mina Hodgson." "And you?" She sipped her red wine, her tone even. "Kelvin Johnston." Mina raised an eyebrow. "Latching onto me, are you?" Tonight, I seemed to have lost all reason, as if under a spell. "You helped me, I want to repay you," I insisted. Mina chuckled softly. "And how do you plan to repay me?" "Offer yourself." Trembling, I carefully replied, "Is that not acceptable?" Her gaze pierced through me, examining me closely. "Though a bit thin, you could be an amusing little toy." She suddenly leaned in, her breath on my face. "Little boy, I'll give you one night to think it over. Go and find out who I am." The intoxicating scent of wine enveloped me, and I was utterly bewitched, oblivious to the approaching danger. In an instant, an elegant business card fell into my palm. Mina remained poised and graceful. "Contact me when you've made up your mind." The next morning, Paula Dalton stood outside my dormitory with bloodshot eyes, glaring at me as if she wanted to tear me apart. "Kelvin Johnston, do you have any idea who Mina Hodgson is? How dare you get involved with her?" I met her gaze coldly, my heart unmoved. "It's none of your business." With that, I turned to leave. "She's the owner of that bar, a notorious socialite. the senior who was expelled from university 3 years ago. Haven't you heard about her? I stopped in my tracks. I hadn't heard of Mina Hodgson specifically, but I had heard rumors about the expelled senior. When I first entered university, her legend was widely circulated on campus. Top of her class, numerous awards, a bright future ahead. Then something happened, and she became a completely different person. Skipping classes, missing exams, spending her days mingling with socialites. She was eventually expelled for serious misconduct. After her expulsion, she opened a high-end bar on the street behind the university, which became wildly successful. But rumors circulated that she was promiscuous, changing partners frequently. Men were like clothes to her, a new one every month. I couldn't help but recall the intoxicating hand kiss from the night before. Paula, I turned back. You no longer have the right to interfere in my life. I don't know why I dialed Mina's number. Perhaps she truly was a temptress, making me want to rebel instinctively. The bar hadn't opened yet. I stood behind her, watching as she drank and chatted with various socialites. The air was thick with perfume and laughter. This was a world entirely foreign to me. Come sit, Mina called to me. I obediently grabbed a bar stool and sat beside her. She glanced at me lazily. Made up your mind? I nodded. She frowned slightly. Didn't try to find out about me? No need. I already know enough about you, I replied honestly. Suddenly, a delicate hand gripped my wrist, and in an instant, I was pulled to Mina's side. The intoxicating scent of alcohol washed over me as she draped one arm over my shoulder, the other hand swirling her wine glass. Caught off guard by the sudden closeness, my cheeks flushed crimson. Mina seemed unfazed. I won't go easy on you. Don't expect me to. Do you want me to find someone to teach you how to be my boy toy? I shook my head. I'll do my best on my own. Mina caressed my cheek. Good boy. Bright lights, flowing alcohol. I was like her personal accessory, held close to her side. Her status in this bar was evident. Even sitting in a corner, people constantly came to toast her. She accepted every drink, emptying each glass. I gazed up at her slightly tipsy face, noticing the alluring traces of alcohol on her lips. Instinctively, I reached for her lower back, but she caught my hand. A glimmer of amusement danced in her eyes. Naughty, she chided. I've always been clumsy when it comes to flirting. But tonight, the lighting was too enchanting, and I felt a stirring in my heart. Am I not allowed to touch? I asked. A low chuckle tickled my ear, and the warmth of her skin made my palm tingle. Care for a taste? Her eyes sparkled with mischief. I blushed, hastily withdrawing my hand. Her slender fingers gently tilted my chin, bringing the glass of sparkling wine to my lips. The rich aroma wafted over me. Try it, she coaxed. That indulgent air left me utterly intoxicated. The girl across from us marveled. Mina, I've never seen you be so gentle with a man before. The group erupted in laughter, and someone quickly chimed in. She's got to properly train her new boy toy, doesn't she? Like a bucket of ice water poured over my head, I snapped back to reality. I instinctively looked at Mina Hodgson. She didn't refute the comment, still smiling with that carefree expression. Those eyes no longer held the intoxicating tenderness from moments ago. I recalled all the rumors about her. She changes men faster than she changes clothes. Mina Hodgson was a femme fatale in matters of the heart, a bewitching enchantress. She didn't need to do anything to effortlessly ignite a man's fantasies. I had always been acutely aware of this. As midnight approached, the atmosphere was at its peak. In the VIP booth, drinks flowed freely, and the sound of dice rolling filled the air. Mina was also thoroughly enjoying herself. I should head back, I said. She turned to look at me. Not having fun? I shook my head. It's not that. The dorm locks at midnight. If I'm any later, I won't be able to get in. As soon as I finished speaking, not just Mina, but all her friends stopped to stare at me. Their expressions were shocked, as if they'd heard something unbelievable. Handsome, why go back? Mina's bed is big and soft. The speaker was the redhead sitting across from us. The implication in her words was unmistakable. I looked to Mina, waiting for her response. The excitement gradually faded from her face as she stared back at me, seemingly waiting for me to give in. I didn't like seeing her cold and irritated. Mina, I unconsciously softened my tone, inexplicably afraid of her in this state. After a long standoff, it was Mina who finally compromised. Her long fingers covered my eyes, her voice clearly impatient. I'll take you back. No need. I hurriedly refused. It's close to the university from here. You keep enjoying yourself. I'll be fine going back on my own. Kelvin, there was a hint of anger in her voice. Do you know what kind of people are out there at this hour? I didn't know. I had never stayed out this late before. In the end, Mina insisted on taking me back. In the cool night breeze, on the dimly lit path in front of the men's dormitory, several couples were entangled in passionate embraces. Although we were still some distance away, I stopped. This is far enough. You should head back now. Inexplicably, we walked together down that sweet-scented lane. She looked at me, her eyes cold. Another expression I disliked. A sudden impulse surged through me, and I leaned down to plant a gentle kiss on her cheek. The moment I did, the distance between us closed again. Our breaths intermingled, mere inches apart. The danger in her eyes and the curve of her lips sent electricity through my defenses. With only the thunderous sound of my heartbeat in my ears, I came to my senses and involuntarily turned my head away. This wasn't my intention. Mina had already withdrawn from the moment of passion, a smile playing on her lips. Seems you didn't want a kiss after all. She ruffled my hair. Let's head back. As we entered the dormitory hall, a familiar voice called out to me. Paula stood there, looking lost and forlorn. Can we talk? There were 20 minutes left before curfew. I had barely reached her when she grabbed my wrist, immediately bombarding me with questions. Kelvin, was it really necessary to go this far just to spite me? I could barely hold back a laugh. Paula, who do you think you are? Paula seemed deeply hurt. Kelvin, I was wrong. Leave her, let's start over. I won't force you anymore. If there are things you're not ready for, I'll be patient with you. Her belated sincerity couldn't match a simple sigh. Paula and I could barely be called childhood friends. We had known each other for years, both too familiar with each other's past. That winter, just as I left the hospital, I saw her standing in the snow-covered landscape, her eyes full of concern. She supported my battered body, whispering words of comfort. Don't be afraid, I'm here. Time is the most elusive thing. As I struggled to crawl out of the hellish abyss, gradually healing my physical scars, the girl who had been like a beacon of faith to me began to fade. And now, just as I was about to break free from those shackles, she had lost her patience in waiting. Tears had begun to fall without my notice. Paula, don't you know what I'm like? The grip on my wrist gradually loosened, and I watched helplessly as the person before me sank deeper into despair. Even if you don't want to accept me now, why are you entangled with Mina? Don't you know she? Her words were cut short as I was pulled back. Mina had suddenly appeared, her tall figure barely visible in the watery night. Like a panther poised to strike in the dark night, she exuded an aura of danger. What about me? The seemingly calm question made me feel suffocated. Paula was also at a loss for words. Who gave you the audacity to covet my man? Mina Hodgson's striking beauty was renowned across campus, drawing admiring glances wherever she went. I cowered behind her like a coward, my wrist firmly in her grasp, unable to move. Paula Dalton skulked away, her face ashen. I couldn't bring myself to meet Mina's eyes. After a moment, her fingertips gently caressed my cheek. Kelvin Johnston, why are you shedding tears for that girl? I hadn't meant to cry, but the tears flowed unbidden. Mina began wiping them away with one hand, then cupped my face with both, her movements growing increasingly frantic. Suddenly, darkness enveloped me as she covered my eyes with her jacket. Kelvin Johnston, you're my man. Yet here you are, crying like an idiot over another woman in front of me. Do you think that's appropriate? Her tone conveyed unprecedented anger. The scent of her signature perfume, sweet and alluring, filled my nostrils. I struggled to compose myself, then seized the opportunity to wrap my arms tightly around her waist. She was clearly taken aback. Mina Hodgson, I whispered her name. I want to have a serious relationship with you. She fell silent. After what seemed an eternity, as if she'd heard something laughable, Mina suddenly burst into laughter. Her laughter was full of mockery, deriding my presumption. But I only held her tighter, listening to the strong heartbeat in her chest. Wild and fickle, treating men like disposable fashion? I refused to believe it. News of what happened that night outside the dormitory spread quickly, embellished with salacious details. Mina was already notorious, and now I found myself thrust into the spotlight as well. A friend advised me, Paula Dalton is down to earth. She'd be a better long-term choice. Kelvin, a girl like Mina Hodgson isn't one of us. She's clearly just toying with you. Why set yourself up for humiliation? Well-meaning advice poured in like a tidal wave, threatening to drown me. It seemed only in that seedy pub, when I was with Mina, could I be certain my choice was right. She gently pinched my earlobe, snapping me back to reality. I met her smiling eyes, lost in thought. Her dazzling smile instantly outshone the surrounding clamor. Bit tired. I'll go splash some water on my face. Along the way, strangers called me brother-in-law, but none of them meant it sincerely. They watched with cold, amused eyes, all wondering when I'd be discarded. Such scenes had played out countless times in this pub. Back in my dorm room, I fished my phone from a hidden pocket in my bag and put on my headphones. The deafening heavy metal music instantly engulfed me. Shortly after I left, a girl approached. Mina, what's the deal with this bloke? How was he? Mina Hodgson's tone was indifferent. I could almost picture her as she spoke, lazily fiddling with a lighter, everything failing to pique her interest. Haven't touched him yet. A chorus of gasps erupted from the booth. It's been 2 weeks, that's not right. Mina sighed. He's like a startled rabbit at the slightest touch. What can I do? The girl who had asked clicked her tongue in amazement. Bloody hell, he's too pure. It had been a week since I last visited that pub. Mina was nocturnal. Once I stopped deliberately seeking her out, our connection became like a kite with a broken string. She hadn't reached out, but I missed her terribly. So much so that when I finished my shift at the convenience store and saw a man casually leaning against the wall across the street, smoking, a flicker of hope stirred in my chest. I recognized him as one of Mina's friends. He flashed a bright smile and greeted me. Bro-in-law, Mina sent me to pick you up. Where to? My heart rate quickened involuntarily. He pointed to a car parked nearby. Outdoor barbecue. The girls have gone ahead to set up. This was my first time interacting with Mina's friends outside the pub. They weren't as rough as I had imagined. Away from the neon-lit environment, this man seemed quite composed, his roguish air considerably tamed. As we drove onto the main road, I noticed him reaching for a cigarette several times, but he always restrained himself. They say you can gauge your standing in a woman's heart by observing how her friends treat you. But I wasn't sure if this treatment was specifically for me or if it was their usual manner. The barbecue spot was an open field in the outskirts. I hadn't brought any picnic gear, just wearing my tattered rucksack with 2 textbooks inside, intruding into a world I didn't belong to. Mina had rolled up her sleeves, a cigarette dangling from her lips, crouched down starting the fire. She'd cut her hair short, looking crisp and efficient, stunningly beautiful. Mina brought the lad, he called out. Through the smoke, Mina gave a non-committal only standing to look at me once the fire was going. Come here. I moved like a marionette, with her holding the strings. An exaggerated whistle sounded behind me. I turned to see a fashionably dressed lad with dreadlocks. My sister's husband is here, the voice chirped, eyes lined with delicate eyeliner sparkling with curiosity. The tone was innocent yet tinged with a hint of teasing. The boy with dreadlocks seemed to appear out of nowhere. Mina Hodgson casually ruffled his hair. "Don't get in the way here. Go help out." The dreadlocked boy stuck out his tongue and ran off laughing. Mina walked towards me, her slender arms wrapping around my waist. The faint scent of her perfume wafted over me, and I found myself holding my breath. I looked up into her eyes. "So sensitive," she chuckled softly, but still released me. Including Mina and me, there were 3 men and 3 women, the other 2 pairs being couples. I suddenly realized that Mina hadn't invited me because she missed me. I was just there to make up the numbers. The aroma of barbecue filled the air as the sun began to set. Someone handed Mina a glass of wine. She took it and looked at me. "You can drive, right?" "Yes," I nodded. Hearing my answer, Mina pinched my cheek and took a large sip of her wine. Such frequent drinking can't be good for one's health. I sat beside her, hesitating for a moment before gently touching her arm. "Maybe you should drink a bit less." Mina raised an eyebrow at me, her slightly tipsy gaze making my heart race. I felt my face heat up. "It's not good for your health." She laughed heartily, gently holding my hand. "All right." As night fell, I began to think I'd been too impulsive, following along to this remote location, especially when I learned that I'd be sharing a tent with Mina tonight. Mina retrieved a bucket of water from the car, gesturing for me to come and wash up. The tents of the other 2 couples weren't far from ours, and we could faintly hear their playful voices. In comparison, our side was awkwardly quiet. I stood by the tent, unsure what to do. Mina sighed softly, pulling out a toiletry bag from her black backpack and tossing it to me. Inside was a set of new, gender-neutral toiletries. I looked at her quizzically, noticing a hint of unease in her expression. "What are you standing there for? Do you want me to wash your face for you?" Her tone was a bit harsh, as if trying to cover something up. My mood suddenly improved, and I couldn't help but smile as I went to wash up. It was rare to see Mina so uninhibited and tipsy. Lying on the lawn, she snuggled into my arms. Her mood seemed particularly good tonight, her eyes full of laughter. Her hands wandered restlessly, and I felt a shiver, instinctively wanting to push away. Mina's face darkened, looking at me with a complicated expression. "Don't want me to touch you?" My heart was racing. "Mina, we've only been together for less than a month." I tried to control myself, but my voice still trembled slightly, and silence spread between us. After a long time, I heard her sigh softly. Mina hugged me tightly, whispering, "You know, your eyes are always so clear." I wanted to look down at her, but she wouldn't let me move. "Don't look at me like that," she said with a light laugh, a hint of self-mockery in her tone. She leaned against me, and I was enveloped by her scent, gradually feeling a bit dizzy. Almost involuntarily, I gently kissed her lips just like the first time we met. "Kelvin." She called my name softly, her tone unbelievably gentle. Under the starry sky, our breaths intertwined. Mina deepened the kiss, leaving me almost breathless. I woke up just as dawn was breaking. Mina was sleeping soundly, her arms around me. I carefully got up and left the tent. There was a viewing platform nearby, perfect for watching the sunrise. I had just sat down when I heard footsteps behind me. It was Tommy, the boy with dreadlocks from yesterday. Without his makeup, he looked a bit haggard, but still handsome. He silently sat down beside me, his gaze falling on the clothes I was wearing. Since I hadn't brought a change of clothes, I was wearing Mina's. They fit me perfectly. Tommy lit a cigar, took a deep drag, and offered it to me. I shook my head. "I don't smoke." He smiled. "Still a novice, I see." The sun slowly rose. "Do you know how long Mina's longest relationship lasted?" I didn't speak, and he didn't seem to mind, continuing, "I've known her for 3 years. The longest one lasted about 2 months. 3 years, the entirety of Mina's downward spiral." I looked at Tommy, the nonchalance in his eyes reminding me of Mina. I admit I was a bit jealous of him. Some things take time to accumulate. Regardless of his role, Tommy was the only one who had witnessed Mina's changes firsthand. He was smart. Knowing he couldn't have what he wanted, he chose to stay by her side as a friend. I missed the Mina I first met. Back then, she still wanted to change herself, unwilling to give up. The morning sun's rays hurt my eyes, and my heart ached subtly. I finally asked the question I had been afraid to face. What exactly happened? Tommy Howard's voice seemed to come from far away. It was for a boy, Kelvin Johnston. Mina Hodgson appeared out of nowhere. She stood a few steps away from me, her brow slightly furrowed as she gazed at me. Tommy stood up, awkwardly forcing a smile and greeting her with a Miss Hodgson. Mina ignored him. Realizing his mistake, Tommy hastily excused himself. Mina came to my side, her voice as gentle as it had been last night. If you wanted to see the sunrise, why didn't you ask me to join you? I stood beside her, and together we watched the sun slowly rise. As the sun climbed higher, warm light bathed us entirely. The tranquility of this moment was unprecedented, and as drowsiness overtook me, I began to feel a bit dizzy. Mina whispered in my ear, "Do you really want to know about the past?" Half asleep, I answered instinctively, "If you're willing to share, I'll listen. If you'd rather not mention it, I won't push." I didn't get to hear Mina tell that story from the past herself. Someone had hacked into the university's forum system and posted a detailed exposé, revealing that long-buried history. The new students, unaware of this past, were buzzing with comments in the forum. Alumni who had been at uni during Mina's time were expressing their thoughts. Back then, Mina had indeed gotten into trouble because of a boy. The boy was a year below her, and the photo only showed a blurry profile. His features were delicate and youthful, giving an impression of innocence. The only flaw was a light brown birthmark on his forehead. Some called him Mina's boyfriend. A highly upvoted comment read, "I can confirm. At the time, Mina and this boy were inseparable, hardly ever apart." The birthmark made the boy a target for bullying at school. Amid the strange looks and mockery from those around him, he became increasingly insecure and withdrawn. Mina stood up for him, caring for him attentively and shielding him from the overwhelming criticism. What seemed like a deeply moving story turned out to be Mina's one-sided infatuation. For his sake, Mina frequently visited unsavory places and picked up various bad habits. She fell from her position as top of the year, eventually skipping classes and missing exams. No one knew how this seemingly harmless boy had managed to captivate the brilliant Mina so completely. Finally, there was an incident where Mina got into a conflict with a group of local thugs because of him. This event caused a huge stir in the area, becoming a focus of media attention. Gang fighting is a serious criminal offense. The university administration went to great lengths to settle the matter. She was once the darling of the school, the pride of her teachers, and no one wanted to give up on her. But she chose to give up on herself. In the end, Mina Hodgson voluntarily dropped out of school. This was not an expulsion, but her own decision. And the boy who triggered it all remained almost invisible throughout the whole affair. After Mina dropped out, he spent a year keeping a low profile, then quietly left the country. Tommy Howard found me and showed me a photograph. In the picture, the boy was held in Mina's arms, grinning broadly and flashing a victory sign. His eyes were clear and bright, radiating innocence and vulnerability. Even the birthmark on his forehead seemed to add a touch of vitality. "Kelvin Johnston, it's time to wake up and stop fooling yourself," Tommy said. I stared at the photograph, my gaze fixed on the younger Mina. Suddenly, memories I had deeply buried came flooding back like a tidal wave. Turned out I had met Mina once before. It was at the school's science fair. I was working behind the scenes when I accidentally broke the champion's prize. It was an expensive crystal goblet, carefully packaged in an elegant box. Panicked, I hid in a corner with the box, silently crying. Suddenly, someone stopped in front of me. She bent down and asked, her voice clear and melodious, "Why are you crying?" I opened the box, explaining between sobs. She sighed softly, rewrapping the box. "Don't worry, just give it out like this." I became even more flustered. "If the champion finds out, I'll surely be scolded." She solemnly promised me, "They won't. Trust me, there was something convincing about her. Despite meeting for the first time, I trusted her without hesitation. During the award ceremony, I anxiously awaited the outcome, only to see the girl who had comforted me earlier walk confidently towards the champion's podium. She accepted the box containing the broken prize, smiling at me. Her gaze was confident and radiant, impossible to look away from. Back then, despite rumors of her skipping classes, Mina still shone brightly. "Tommy, what do you mean by that?" I asked. Tommy was blunt. "Mina was willing to drop out of school for this lad. Do you think you can compare to him?" I responded coldly. "Why should I compare myself to him? Look closely at this photo." Tommy brought the picture closer. "This boy, he resembles you in a way." It wasn't a physical resemblance, but a similarity in spirit. Those bright eyes reflected innocence, like an unworldly sprite. "Your eyes are always so clear." Mina's words from the past echoed in my mind. Her gaze was always elusive, as if she wanted to see through me, yet feared looking too deep. I couldn't help but wonder, who was I in her eyes? Tommy Howard seemed to see through my hesitation. "Kelvin Johnston, it's not too late to back out now." Our conversation was interrupted by my phone ringing. It was Paula Dalton. She had promised to take me to her favorite restaurant tonight. "Paula, you should take down that exposé. All your efforts are in vain." Her expression froze instantly, a flash of panic in her eyes. "Kelvin, let me explain." I didn't give her the chance. "You need to understand, even without Mina, we could never start over." She tried to explain, but I cut her off. "The past can't be changed. You should know me. I've never been one to look back. I used to be indecisive, silently enduring my parents' endless demands, until they pushed me to the brink for my sister's future. I kept giving in almost at the cost of my life. Later, I went north to study on my own, completely severing ties with my hometown. Some things, once you choose to let go, you shouldn't cling to. Either give it your all, even if you end up battered, or cut it off decisively, never looking back." "Kelvin." Paula's voice was barely a whisper, pleading, "Stop being so stubborn. Giving up on Mina is the right thing to do." I understood the pain of hitting rock bottom better than anyone. Mina had suffered enough. How could I let her taste more bitterness just as she was opening her heart again? Mina had long been disconnected from campus life. She wouldn't browse the forums, so she naturally didn't know what had happened. Outside the school gates, amidst the bustling crowd, she waited for me with 2 helmets, one of which was navy blue. Passers-by kept glancing our way, but we were oblivious, eyes only for each other. "Didn't you say you wanted to feel the thrill of speed?" "I just got my license." Mina patted the motorcycle behind her. Perhaps she hadn't even noticed the change in herself, but I saw it and was secretly delighted. I sat behind her, gently wrapping my arms around her waist. "How far do you think we can go?" Mina remained silent. Although we hadn't been together long, it was already her new record. And for now, it seemed neither of us had any intention of parting ways. In the bustling night market, she carefully shielded me while complaining and squeezing through the crowd. "What's so good about fish and chips? Is this place reliable? We won't get stomach aches, will we? It's absolutely delicious." I nodded repeatedly. "We must try it today." "Go buy some." Mina grumbled and looked annoyed, but her body obediently squeezed into the queue. "You're the most troublesome boyfriend I've ever had." I wolfed down the food, too busy to refute her words, and casually replied, "You're the most adorable girlfriend I've ever had." No sooner had I spoken than the snack before me was snatched away. Mina's face darkened, her tone dangerous. "How many girlfriends have you actually had?" I pretended to think seriously, counting on my fingers. "Too many to count." After our street food tour, we went to a pub. Her group of friends seemed to treat the place like a second home, making a fuss when they saw us arrive. As soon as we sat down, Mina reached out and took Christy's wine glass. Christy looked surprised and was about to protest, but was silenced by a glare from Mina. Near 10 o'clock, Mina stood up to take a phone call. Christy gave me a mysterious thumbs up, Well done, brother-in-law. It's been 3 months already. Keep it up. I didn't take her words seriously, smiling as I said, well, I'm counting on you lot to put in a good word for me. Mina's mood was clearly off. The content of that phone call remained a mystery, but when she returned, she fell silent and kept drinking. Recently, when coming to the pub with me, she had rarely touched alcohol. After all, she still had to drive me back. Mina, what's wrong? Someone noticed the change. Mina waved her hand dismissively and downed another glass. I tried to hold her hand, but got no response. Time ticked by, and the curfew for my dormitory was drawing near. The atmosphere at our table grew tense, with everyone exchanging uneasy glances. As I checked my watch for the third time, Christy finally spoke up. Kelvin, maybe you should head back now, don't miss curfew. We'll take care of Mina. Mina, half closing her eyes and leaning back on the sofa, was already quite drunk. Hearing this, she gripped my hand tightly. At that moment, I wasn't sure if the pain in my hand was more intense or the ache in my heart more unbearable. I'm not going back to the dorm tonight. I'm going to take care of her. This was my first time entering Mina's residence, a spacious duplex flat with a cold, minimalist decor. Apart from the bedroom, there was hardly any sign of life in the other rooms. Christy helped me get Mina to the upstairs bedroom before saying goodbye. I quickly found a carton of milk in the kitchen. Milk can help alleviate the effects of alcohol. Mina didn't seem to be asleep, her brows furrowed, her face showing signs of discomfort. Mina! I called her name softly. She suddenly reached out and turned off the wall light. The room plunged into darkness, with only a few strands of moonlight seeping through the gaps in the curtains. Before I could react, the person who had been lying down suddenly turned over. I propped myself up, gently holding her shoulders, trying to bring her back to consciousness. Kelvin! A faint murmur came from beside my ear as she leaned in to kiss me, but I pulled away. This simple action somehow angered her. She sensed my resistance but couldn't let go. I struggled fiercely, but it proved futile under her grip. She easily restrained both my hands, looking down at me in the dim light. Not even me? Her voice was low and hoarse, with a hint of suppressed anger. She asked again. The anger in her tone dissipated, replaced by an indescribable sense of loss, as if tinged with a touch of self-mockery. I stopped struggling, seemingly realizing something, and a chill ran through my heart. Mina? My voice trembled slightly. Did you investigate me? She knew about my aversion to intimate contact. How much did she understand? I felt as if I had been stripped bare and exposed to the sunlight, with nowhere to hide. This secret I had never mentioned to anyone, and now only Paula knew about it. She released her grip and rolled over to lie beside me. In the pitch-black room, time seemed to stand still, with only the sound of my gradually steadying breath. Her emotions also slowly calmed down. I asked, "Did Paula tell you?" She softly replied, "Yes." Paula couldn't persuade me to give her up, so she wanted her to leave me on her own. Once childhood friends, now exposing my wounds and hurting me again. She said softly, "Then she deserves to die." I responded in a low voice, "She deserves to die, and that person deserves it even more." My tone was calm, but she could sense the intense killing intent. When my sister was advancing to secondary school, her parents pulled strings everywhere, trying to get her into the best school in the county. The neighbor was a teacher at that school. They knew that person had a bad reputation and an abnormal gaze, yet they still forced me to visit alone. That place was an abyss, that person a demon. She's already in prison. It's all in the past. It's all in the past. These simple words represented countless sleepless nights for me, and the scars on my wrists that would never fade. Will you despise me? And then leave me as Paula thought? She remained silent, her breathing becoming rapid again. I turned to my side, fumbling in the dark to hold her hand. Our fingers intertwined, and she could feel the slight trembling of my palm. Mina. My voice was filled with suppressed pain, unsettling her. My heart aches, I whispered. I revealed to her my darkest past, and we held each other tightly in the night. Without words, our souls had become closely intertwined. She stopped drinking. Although the pub was still open, she rarely visited it. Our meeting place shifted from the pub to her flat. We spent incredibly pleasant times together, with her helping me handle most of my assignments and projects. 3 years passed, and her abilities hadn't diminished in the slightest. She put on her glasses, opened her laptop, as if returning to her prime years. I leaned against her, sincerely admiring, "You're so brilliant. Running a pub is really a waste of your talents." Without looking up, she easily solved the problem that had been troubling me for a long time. "Whatever I do, I have the ability to support you." I thought this was the most beautiful moment, until I encountered a busy exam week. Consecutive exams left me exhausted, and we hadn't seen each other for nearly a week. She disappeared. Phone calls went unanswered. Messages sank like stones. Her flat was empty. I went to the pub and saw Christy Evans sitting at the bar, dressed glamorously, with no sign of our usual friends. "Where's Mina?" Christy looked flustered, hesitating for a long time before revealing the truth. Her father took her away. Indeed, it was forceful. Her father sent bodyguards and simply abducted her. Her father indulged her for so many years. Now he's decided he can't let her continue like this. Christy said the last time she saw her was at the pub. Mina had transferred the pub to her, intending to tell me after my exams were over, but unexpectedly, her father took her away suddenly. Mina's parents separated early on. Her father has always been abroad, and her mother hasn't really looked after her these years. As for why her father suddenly returned to the country to take her away, I'm not sure either. Seeing how anxious I was, Christy comforted me. "Don't worry too much. We can't contact her now, but once she escapes her father's control, she'll definitely get in touch with us." This became my only hope. Busy with my internship, I had no time for other concerns. Without careful reflection, I couldn't even remember how long she had been gone. She was like a brilliant shooting star, briefly streaking across my world. The feeling of life being illuminated made it impossible for me to return to how things were before. After several sleepless nights, I finally began to inquire about her whereabouts. I asked the school teachers who knew her, but they all kept silent, as if there was something they couldn't speak about. Tommy Howard offered me some advice. "Why don't you try contacting that lad who used to be close to Mina Hodgson? The boy with the birthmark on his face. He was once inseparable from Mina and might know about her family situation." I asked around and finally got his contact information from one of his old classmates. When the call connected, a deep voice came through. I got straight to the point and explained why I was calling. The other end of the line fell into a long silence. After a while, the young man spoke reluctantly. "Who's spreading such ridiculous rumors?" I was momentarily stunned. "Mina Hodgson is my twin sister. We're fraternal twins. Can't you tell?" Indeed, it was hard to distinguish. Shocked, I had no time to delve into the truth of these rumors. "Is Mina with you now?" I asked urgently. "I think she went to America with my aunt. We haven't been in touch for a while, so I'm not sure of the details." Mina's family relationships were complicated. Her parents had gone their separate ways years ago, with her father moving abroad and cutting off all contact with England. Shortly after her parents' divorce, her stepfather moved in with a sister 3 years older than Mina. Such changes would be difficult for anyone to accept, let alone the 8-year-old twins at the time. From then on, Mina and Damon relied on each other, struggling to survive in the cracks. The Hodgson family was powerful, with intense internal power struggles, like a modern version of a royal court drama. Fortunately, Mina had shown exceptional talent from a young age, excelling in various aspects and becoming the apple of her grandmother's eye. After we started university, grandmother's health began to decline rapidly, and the issue of family inheritance became pressing. No one wanted to see the old lady give all her affection to this enviable granddaughter. Since they couldn't change the old lady's mind, they could only try to destroy Mina's halo. Without protection, the two newly adult children had to face the storm of this power struggle head-on. The family business was in chaos, yet some people viewed it as a treasure. We thought by studying far from home, they might settle down a bit. We even chose majors completely unrelated to inheriting the family business. We never imagined these people could be so vicious. This was a carefully designed plot against Mina. They constantly arranged blind dates for Damon, even threatening his personal safety, all to force Mina into their trap. Photos and videos of Mina drinking in pubs and cozying up to strangers were continuously presented to old Mrs. Hodgson. Their scheme finally succeeded. They said, "How can she be a top student with excellent grades when she behaves so loosely in private? How could she handle such an important responsibility?" Damon Hodgson hadn't thought about that period of his life for a long time. As he spoke, his voice became low and solemn. "Those people were like venomous snakes, relentlessly pursuing my sister and me. The Hodgson family had connections in various circles, and even after Mina dropped out of school, they wouldn't leave her alone. They still managed to send Damon abroad, and they wanted to witness Mina's sharp edges being gradually worn down until she finally became a true socialite. After Damon went abroad, he managed to contact their father. Their father was a shrewd opportunist who initially didn't want any more entanglements with the Hodgson family, but they were still his flesh and blood. However, it was all too late. By the time Mina's father returned to England to take her away, she had already sunk deeper into the abyss. The glittering world of high society seemed to have become her only refuge. Her father observed coldly and said, "I'll give you 2 more years to indulge yourself." Now that time was up. Mina's ordeal was more painful than I had imagined. "Damon, please help me. I want to see her," I pleaded. Damon was clearly at a loss on the other end of the phone. "Don't worry too much. She's probably being watched by people my father sent, and can't contact anyone in England for now. I'll figure something out. Just don't panic." A week later, I finally received a response from Damon. Damon's tone was full of dissatisfaction towards his biological father. "My dad says unless my sister achieves something, she's not allowed to return to England. He's forcing her to work day and night. She's lost so much weight." His angry tone was so sincere that it almost dulled the sadness in my heart. But then, Damon sent me an address, and the knot in my heart finally began to unravel. I immediately booked a flight and rushed to the airport with my suitcase. Just as I left my place, a familiar figure caught my full attention. The long-suppressed longing surged like a tidal wave, and my eyes instantly welled up with tears. I strode forward and tightly embraced the person who had opened their arms to me. A soft sigh sounded in my ear as Mina gently stroked my hair. I wanted to wait until everything had settled before coming back, so I wouldn't have to leave again. I held her tightly, afraid that this was just a dream. "Is everything over now?" I asked, choking back tears. "Not yet." Mina's tone carried a hint of amusement. "I heard someone was looking everywhere for me, so I came back to reassure them before anything happened." Everything around us seemed to freeze. Even the dust floating in the air became gentle. Mina rested her chin lightly on top of my head and said softly, "Kelvin, don't be sad anymore. Seeing you like this breaks my heart too. Then promise me," my voice was thick with tears, "let me stay with you from now on. Don't suddenly disappear again. All right?" She held me even tighter,